Welcome to Chalk Talk, a weekly preview of West Tennessee football featuring the JSUN sports team here on JacksonSun.com.
Hey everybody, welcome into this week's edition of Chalk Talk, the college football edition. I am JacksonSun sports editor Brandon Shields. He is our local college sports writer Craig Thomas. And Craig, you don't have a lot going on in West Tennessee this weekend, but West Tennessee football is going to kind of have a long weekend as you'll be starting working Thursday night.
That's right. UT Martin has a little bit of a difference in the schedule this week. There'll be a couple of these. One of them later on in the year in conference play, but for right now, a game against an NAI opponent, Cumberland, a university a lot of people around here are familiar with, out of Middle Tennessee. They'll be coming up to Martin for a Thursday night game at 6:30. UT Martin, as it's been documented, is 0-2. They had that real rough game against Kentucky at the beginning of the season. Last week they played Central Arkansas on the road. A similar program to UT Martin, like a good solid FCS program, a team that UT Martin beat by a point last year. They lost by 2 this year, so they're 0-2. It was an opportunity for a win. They played clearly better than they had against Kentucky. I mean, even given the talent disparity between those two opponents, a lot better showing from UTM. If you can, be with a team like Central Arkansas, you would think compete in the Ohio Valley Conference, which is what this is all about. And what I've written about for Thursday is when you watch this game against Cumberland, I think obviously UTM is supposed to win. That's first and foremost. But I think what you want to watch for is, does this look like a team that can beat the Eastern Kentuckys, can hang with the Tennessee States, the Eastern Illinois, the Jacksonvilles, teams like that? That's kind of the question that you want to think about, I think, as a fan, because in 9 days after the game, it's going to be Eastern Kentucky rolling up in here.
Oh.
And you've got that conference start, and it's a big game.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have SEMO the week after that, a game they should win, but really that Eastern Kentucky game, I think, is really, really important. Maybe even more so than some of the other league games, because it's a good barometer. If UTM can win that game, then I think they can be a contender at least in the OVC. But they got to get ready for it. They got a chance in a game situation against this Cumberland team where they should have more often than not athletic advantages at these positions. A lot of Jared Neal in the last game, not too much Dylan Farr, so we'll see how that sort of shakes out if it's going to be like that again. UTM has a few questions in certain places. Offensive line has not been a strength up to this point. They're good on the ends, but in the middle they've had some weaknesses. Wide receiver, the depth is not really there, with a couple guys that kind of have some nagging injuries, and they don't have a big playmaker yet. We still don't know who that's going to be, who that closest thing to the Jeremy Butler, Quentin Sims kind of guy is going to be. Bouture had a big game against Kentucky this last week, not so much.
Right.
And Jason Simpson attributed most of that to the blocking for him, and so maybe that'll kind of even out as things go along. But Bouture's got to have some big games, I think, period, for this offense to be what it should be and to sort of push UTM through the OVC this year.
But the schedule does set up for them to start OVC play, having a couple extra days to get ready for Eastern Kentucky.
That's right. So that's one plus for sure.
All right. Well, kind of go over the schedule for Saturday.
Saturday, everybody basically be on the road. Bethel has a road game against Georgetown, Kentucky, a team that's been pretty much a beast, really, in the Mid-South. A team that Bethel upset a couple of years ago in the playoffs, but a team that kind of wasn't quite as strong, 7-3 in the regular season last year. Beat Bethel, I think, by 19 points. Georgetown's quarterback is Neil Paulsad, a guy from Mason County, Kentucky, which, interestingly enough, is more known for its basketball talent. Chris Lofton, who played for the Vols, went to that high school, and Neil Paulsad played basketball there as well. But he's the quarterback for Georgetown, and so this will be another tough game for Bethel. Frankly, all have been lately. It's not really going well offensively. Still some quarterback issues. They played Will Nix a little bit in addition to Kerry Sellers last week. Both of them exactly 50%, which is okay. It's a step forward, I suppose, but there's still a lot of work to do. Rushing's been a real problem. One of the things our reporter Josh Lemons was at the Bethel game this past week, and Chris Elliott had hinted that maybe Devin Raymer out of Dresden will be used more in a special teams role. Looked at some other guys at running back, maybe Tate Nesbitt, the guy from Trenton Peabody.
He got a few snaps this week.
He did, and he's a little guy, but obviously shifty, and can maybe help him out there a little bit. But I mean, it's just, aside from maybe a couple of offensive linemen, they don't have a whole lot of experience on offense. Defensively, obviously, giving up 32 points to Kentucky Christian, not ideal. And then I think one of the challenges, again, for Bethel is going to be kind of keeping everybody mentally in there, because, as positive as Chris Elliott likes to be, he's very level-headed guy. When you talk to him, he doesn't get real worked up publicly. And even,
Right.
I've seen him talk to the team after some bad losses, and he's not a red-faced guy necessarily.
Right.
You know, he can get frustrated, but I mean, he's not somebody that's just going to, stomp and pout and all that stuff. But I think ultimately you have to work really hard to keep these Bethel guys positive because, they're looking at a situation now where you're going to start, I think last year's going to start creeping in a little bit. It's just natural. They'll say it won't, but it just does. That's how we work. So, just as humans. So I think, Bethel, the sooner they can get this fixed up, the better, obviously for their record, but also just psychologically too.
Yeah. Well, Lane, they didn't start their season out very too great with the home loss. What was it, about 30 points?
Yeah, 39-7. Honestly, I expected some struggle for Bethel this year to start the season. I really did. Lane surprised me last week. I really thought they, might drop off a little bit. I mean, that was reasonable. Obviously, new coach, several new playmakers, so that's understandable.
Particularly with the players they lost off last year, too.
Right, yeah, and that's understandable. But I mean, they were just flat not very good at all against Benedict, and you have to give Benedict some credit to some degree. But I thought a lot of the problems, honestly, were self-inflicted by Lane. When you're talking about, a blocked punt and 2 other bad punt snaps, I mean, that's kind of stuff we see, on Fridays, really, not so much you expect to see on Saturdays, but and maybe some of that was due to the field conditions, which were horrible given the fact that it poured, right at game time. But when the other team's not doing it, you have to kind of match their execution level, and Lane, really, I thought in all 3 phases did not do that. They've got a couple good guys. I think they have some good hands. They can be playmakers on offense. Defensively, they were better than they were offensively, which is kind of interesting because last year it was the reverse all the time. But I think the sad truth that Malik Hoskins sort of realized, maybe even going in, but certainly after the game, is the best quarterback he's got is an assistant coach in Chris Reaney. And I mean, that's just the way it is. He's got some young guys that are trying to compete and, I think doing the best they can, but right now just are not making good decisions. And he was pretty blunt about it. He's just like, I asked him, what did you see was the biggest problem offensively? He said, it's quarterback.
Yeah.
We don't have a quarterback making good decisions. We got guys throwing the ball up in the air real casually, and you can't do it. It's going to get picked off. So Lane has a lot of issues to work out here in the next few weeks. They'll be traveling to Clark, Atlanta. I honestly expect better performances from them. I don't think this is a return to the old days where Lane just got thumped and they were a complete laughingstock in the conference. I don't think this is going to be like that. But I thought going in that, maybe a 5-5, 6-4 record was pretty reasonable. Given the way they played last week, that has to change or it won't be.
Yeah. Well, Memphis is off this week after the good showing they had late. Probably not a lot of people saw it because, 1, it wasn't on TV around here, and 2, it didn't kick off till 9 o'clock. But I think just about everybody around here knows about the good showing that Memphis had against UCLA. But you're going to be at UTM Thursday night. And we'll have updates from the other 2 games on Saturday as they're coming in from Atlanta and from, where's Bethel again?
They'll be at Georgetown, Kentucky.
Georgetown, Kentucky, so, which is on the eastern end of Kentucky, right?
Yeah, just kind of north of Lexington.
Yeah.
In that area.
All right, but thanks for logging on, thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping up with local college football here in West Tennessee. Craig Thomas is your guy to kind of catch up on that because you know what's going on at every local college in West Tennessee. Thank you for your work doing that. Follow him on Twitter at JSWriterCraig for constant updates from the college beat, not just football, every sport. And continue to read the Jackson Sun at jacksonsun.com because we are your #1 source for local sports information here in West Tennessee.